Today, I'd like to review with you some of the new reopening guidelines that Governor Baker issued recently and kind of go over how it applies to those of us here on Nantucket. The governor released some new reopening guidelines that are in two levels. The first one began on March the 1st, and it affected just a couple of things. First of all, for restaurants, they no longer have a capacity limit, a percentage limit on their capacity. We're basically going back to kind of how we were in the fall. They are going to be limited by 6 people per table still, a 90-minute limit for diners, but the only spacing limitation is spacing between tables. So that is a bit of a upgrade for them right now. Currently, there's still no self-serve food or buffets or things of that sort, but they are going to be allowed to start having live music again, as long as they also follow those safety guidelines for that as well. So that is an addition for a restaurant. Some indoor performance venues, concert halls, and theaters and recreational activities will be allowed to open. So, the theater and things of that sort at 50% capacity. So they'll be able to start planning on opening as well right now if they choose to do so. Some of the industries that had been at 40% capacity are now up to 50%. Things like fitness centers, libraries, common spaces for lodging, places of worship, museums, theaters, and close contact personal services, your nail salon, massage, things of that sort. So they got a little bit bump there in their capacity. Also, retail, all fitting rooms may open in all retail businesses. There were some limitations there, so that's great for them. Some things unaffected by capacity limits, drive-in movies, construction, manufacturing businesses, they do not have capacity limits. One thing I'd like to tell folks, I know over the past year, there have been times Nantucket has been stricter than the state. That happens. We have aligned with the state. So here in Nantucket, if you're looking at the Reopening Massachusetts website that we will include here for you to see, it is the same as what we're doing here on Nantucket. So we do not currently have anything stricter. And so long as our health metrics stay in a positive direction, we will continue to do so. So secondly, that the governor released are some new updated guidelines that will start to take effect on March 22nd. Again, so long as public health data remains in a positive direction. This is mostly going to affect our hospitality and events community. And I know there's a lot of folks out there anxious about how this is going to work this summer. So right now, if all goes well on March 22nd, we're going to start seeing an increase in gathering limits. For right now, the increase will be for licensed event venues and public settings. Again, I'll go over kind of what that definition means. That increase will be to 100 people indoors and 150 outdoors. For private residences, it's going to remain what it is now, and that is 10 people indoors and a maximum of 25 people outdoors, and I will get to a little more explanation in that. Dance floors are going to be allowed for weddings and permitted events only, not in a club or restaurant or things of that sort. So it's limited to those types of things. There's some new regulations for large venues. We don't have those for 5,000 and above, so we're fine there. And one thing I'll just say is a couple things that are not yet allowed until a future reopening step are things such as road races, street festival, parades, fairs, hot tubs and steam rooms at the fitness clubs, and things such as beer gardens, breweries, bars, dance clubs, and nightclubs that do not provide seated food service. Again, we have some places here that might fall under that definition, such as Cisco or Chicken Box, but they have modified their operations and do provide seated food service, so they can open under those requirements. I want to clarify a little bit more about what the difference is between, say, a private residence that has the lower limitations and a public property or a licensed event. What's going to make it that with the higher limits are going to be a lease and rental agreement, an advertised type of gathering. Even if it's private property, but publicly accessed, say the oldest house, the boat basin. Those are privately owned but publicly accessed properties. A tent in your backyard might not be. And when I mention permits, it could be anything from liquor service, entertainment, tents, things of that sort. So right now, that is what we are looking at. As we move through the spring, they may align those numbers, but for right now, anything at a private residence that is not a permitted event is held to those lower numbers. Secondly, when we're speaking about our gathering limits, the one thing I want to remind folks in business is that there are two levels here of guidance. One is the overall gathering limits that I just described, but we are still bound by sector-specific guidance. Most of you in business understand those. Depending on what type of business, event, or function that you are putting on, it is going to have sector-specific guidance, a performance guidance, restaurant guidance. If it's food service, you're going to be bound by those sector-specific guidance, and we are following all of those. Mostly table service, spacing for employees, performers, things of that sort. So please make sure you visit Reopening Massachusetts to understand your specific business or your specific event and what guidelines are required for those events. I also would like to refer folks to the town website where we have all of our COVID guidelines and any emergency orders that would come from it listed so that we keep track of what is happening and how that applies for Nantucket. We will also be providing a QR code for businesses to include at their locations as well, so you can scan throughout the season and kind of know where we are at that moment in time. So I think I have covered all of the important points that apply to here on Nantucket. We are trying to gather all the questions that come in and provide FAQs on our website as well when we come across a situation that's unique to Nantucket that might need more explanation. We're continuing to do that, and we'll certainly post more updates as we get closer to that March 22nd date. And again, those of you who have things coming up in June or July, try to work on different scenarios for what you're working on. We can certainly answer questions on that as well, but start making plans based on where we are today and where that might change in the future. And we will be certain to update everyone as soon as those things come down from the state and from the governor. Thank you. I hope that I've helped explain some of this. We know it's all very confusing, so we will continue to update you and just ask that everyone mask up and stay safe, Nantucket. Thank you.